Imagine standing among the stars, looking down upon all of human civilization. All those things that keep you awake at night, the pressures of work, the conflicts with others, the fears about the future. What do they look like from up here? Do they still matter? Or are they just specks of cosmic dust, so small they barely deserve a thought? This isn't science fiction. This is a spiritual legacy left to us over 2,000 years ago by one of ancient Rome's greatest thinkers, Cicero. He recorded a dream in his work On the Republic, a dream that has changed countless lives. This dream is called Cicero's Dream. 146 BC, the city of Carthage falls. Roman legions, under the command of the young general Scipio Aemilianus, completely destroy this great city that had contended with Rome for decades. Flames engulf Carthage's palaces, temples, and libraries. The fate of hundreds of thousands changes in a single night. Scipio stood on the burning ruins, watching a once great civilization turn to ash. According to the historian Polybius, the young conqueror suddenly began to weep. When asked why he was crying, he softly recited a line from Homer's epic. "Someday, sacred Troy will fall too, and Priam and his people will perish." He realized that Rome would one day face the same fate. No empire lasts forever. No glory is immortal. In that moment, a seed was planted in the conqueror's heart, a seed about eternity and insignificance. Years later, one night, Scipio, now a Roman consul, had a dream. In this dream, his grandfather appeared to him, that legendary hero who had defeated Hannibal, Scipio Africanus. But this was no ordinary dream. The grandfather didn't talk about war, didn't talk about politics, didn't even talk about family honor. Instead, he took his grandson's soul and carried it up, above the stars. Imagine that scene. Your consciousness leaves your body, passes through the clouds, passes through the atmosphere, soars toward that endless star field. Earth grows smaller beneath your feet, from a city to a continent, until it becomes just a blue sphere floating in darkness. The grandfather pointed to that shrinking point of light and said, "Look, that is Earth. Everything you fight for, everything you bleed for, everything you lose sleep over, it's all there." Scipio looked at that blue dot and felt something he had never experienced before. It wasn't fear, wasn't emptiness, but a strange kind of peace. All those problems that had troubled him for years, the attacks of political enemies, the expectations of the people, the burden of the empire, suddenly lost all the weight they once possessed. The grandfather continued, "You see those nations down there, those borders, those territories that make humans kill each other. From here, they are just lines drawn in sand, wiped away by a single tide. What about those great cities you admire? They are just traces on dust. What about those eternal empires you revere? They are just a moment in the river of time." The most profound part of this dream was the discussion about fame. In ancient Rome, fame was everything. Politicians competed to build monuments. Generals dreamed of triumphal processions. Every citizen longed for their name to be remembered by posterity. Scipio himself was a product of this culture, educated from childhood to pursue glory, to bring honor to his family, to make his name immortal. But among the stars, his grandfather said something shocking. "You crave fame, my child. You want people to remember your name. But let me ask you,
Who remembers the heroes from 100 years ago? Who remembers the emperors from 500 years ago? Time consumes all memories, just as the sea consumes footprints on the sand. Even if your name could survive for several centuries, so what? Look at this star field.
Let's stop and think. How much of your anxiety is actually about what other people think of you? How many of your decisions are made to conform to some social expectation? How many nights have you tossed and turned, worried you weren't good enough, successful enough, recognized enough? When you realize all of this is just ripples in cosmic dust, destined to disappear with time, something magical happens. You are free. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You no longer need to chase those things others tell you are important. You can finally ask yourself, what truly matters to me? What brings real meaning to my life? This is the power of the divine perspective. It doesn't deny the value of life. It helps you redefine what true value really is. Through this story, Cicero wanted to tell us that true greatness lies not in external achievements, but in inner character. Whether your name is remembered doesn't matter. What matters is how you treat others while alive, how you face difficulties, how you maintain your integrity and kindness. In the latter part of the dream, the grandfather showed Scipio two different ways of living. The first is how most people live, trapped on the surface of the earth, drowning in daily trivialities. They worry about money, compete for status, twist themselves to gain others' approval. They think they are important, but have never looked up at the stars. Their entire world is that small circle, those insignificant struggles, those fleeting pleasures and pains. The second is how the few wise live. Though they live on earth, their spirits can soar above the stars. They understand the vastness of the universe, recognize their own insignificance, and therefore are no longer troubled by worldly disturbances. They live in the present, focus on what truly matters: love, wisdom, virtue, genuine connection with others. They don't pursue fame because they know it's illusory. They don't fear death because they know death is just the way of returning to the universe. The grandfather asked Scipio, "Which way of life do you choose?" This question has traveled across 2,000 years. And today it still asks each of us.
You might ask, this story is beautiful, but how does it help with my daily life? Let me tell you about an exercise. This is a method frequently used by ancient Stoic philosophers. They called it the view from above. Next time you feel anxious, angry, or frustrated, try to do the following. First, close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Then, imagine your consciousness begins to rise. You leave your body, float to the ceiling of your room, looking down at that troubled self below. Notice how small that person appears. Continue rising, pass through the roof, look at the entire building. Where are your problems now? You can't even see them anymore. Continue rising, look at the whole community, the entire city. Those people on the streets, each has their own worries, each thinks their problems are the most important. Continue rising, look at the whole country, the whole continent. Right now, millions are experiencing.
200 years later, another Roman applied the wisdom of Scipio's dream to his life. He was the man later called the philosopher-emperor, Marcus Aurelius. As the supreme ruler of the Roman Empire, Marcus Aurelius faced pressures unimaginable to ordinary people. Border wars, court conspiracies, plague, imperial decline. These pressures pressed on his shoulders every day. Any ordinary person would have collapsed under such pressure. But Marcus Aurelius had a secret weapon. He frequently practiced the view from above. In his private journal, Meditations, he wrote, "You can retreat into your own mind at any moment. No place brings a person more peace and tranquility than their own soul." He also wrote, "Look at the stars. Think as if you are running along with them. This meditation can purify your mind of those worldly cares that trouble you." Imagine that scene. Deep in the night, outside the tent are the fires of Germanic barbarians. Inside is the weary emperor. He doesn't choose to drown his sorrows in wine, doesn't choose to complain about fate. Instead, he looks up at the stars, merging his consciousness into that infinity. From that perspective, the war before him is just a struggle between ants. From that perspective, the rise and fall of empires is just a small fluctuation in the cosmic cycle. From that perspective, his own life and death are just part of a greater existence. This isn't escaping reality, quite the opposite. It's for facing reality better. When you free yourself from anxiety and fear, you can think more clearly, act more effectively, face everything more calmly.
You might ask, this story is beautiful, but how does it help with my daily life? Let me tell you about an exercise. This is a method frequently used by ancient Stoic philosophers. They called it the view from above. Next time you feel anxious, angry, or frustrated, try to do the following. First, close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Then, imagine your consciousness begins to rise. You leave your body, float to the ceiling of your room, looking down at that troubled self below. Notice how small that person appears. Continue rising, pass through the roof, look at the entire building. Where are your problems now? You can't even see them anymore. Continue rising, look at the whole community, the entire city. Those people on the streets, each has their own worries. Each thinks their problems are the most important. Continue rising. Look at the whole country, the whole continent. Right now, millions are experiencing all kinds of joys and sorrows. Your problem is just one of them. Continue rising until you can see the entire earth, that blue sphere floating in darkness. All history, all wars, all love stories, all achievements, all failures happen on that tiny surface. Finally, continue rising until Earth itself becomes a point of light, joining countless other stars to form part of the galaxy. From this perspective, ask yourself, does that thing troubling you really matter so much? Will you still remember it a year from now? 10 years? 100 years? This doesn't deny your feelings. Your feelings are real. Your pain is real. But this exercise helps you gain perspective, a new way of looking at things. It reminds you that many things we think are huge actually aren't that huge. Many pressures we think are unbearable can actually be borne.